This is Newcap News.
Good evening and thanks for joining us. After an approved agreement at City Council, the City of Lloydminster is poised to become a hub for the region's potable water supply. While a timetable on construction is still not yet known, city officials are feeling confident about the long-term impacts. Adam McVicker has more.
I believe it is a very positive step in the long run.
All the Midwest region's potable water could soon come from the City of Lloydminster. This after City Council approved an agreement with the Alberta Central East Water Corporation to become a hub for 8 of the region's villages and hamlets. Mayor Albers believes the regionalization could help the city secure provincial and federal infrastructure funding.
When we go back to the federal and provincial governments, because that's a great source of our funding, especially for capital projects, we can say we're not just serving 32,000 people in the City of Lloydminster, we're serving a much larger area.
Discussions around the project began in 2014, and a study establishing water rates over the next 20 years shows a 13% profit rate for the city, $500,000 in 2018, with only one potential cost to the city.
Once the ACE Corporation comes back and says we're putting in an X-size water line, we may want to increase that water line by a couple inches in diameter for our portion. The trench will be open. All we'll pay for is the enlarged size of pipe.
There is concern the increase in water flow through the city would require an upgrade for the water treatment plant before its 2025 timeline, but the city says they're a long way from reaching capacity.
We've got significantly smarter about our water usage in the city. Our residents have embraced water conservation.
I don't want to use the word advance, but it's a matter of engineering principles and making sure that we're using it to the best of our ability without damaging it and not pushing it to its full limit.
The city is planning for the ACE water line to be operational in 2018, meaning construction could be slated for later this year.
If for some reason ACE does not get pipe in the ground in 2017, no water will leave the city.
Adam McVicker, Newcap News.
While the Lloydminster Airport felt the impact of a slow economy in 2016, travel numbers showed a 30% drop in passengers from 2015 to 2016.
Just like every other business around here, our numbers were certainly down. But as of late, it looks like at least they've somewhat stabilized, not getting any worse at least.
The airport typically sees an increase in traffic in the spring and summer as the weather improves, but a bulk of business in the past was from passengers coming up to the area for work.
Well, I would say for our scheduled services, probably 70% or greater were for sure business related, but we do have a fair bit of recreational and tourism flying out of here as well.
The current Lloydminster Airport has been in the community since 1981. And International Women's Day has been celebrated globally since the early 1900s, and a local business continues to embrace women in their own business.
Starting a company, being a woman, and having a woman-based business, it makes me really proud to see that women can succeed on their own. And one of the things that's really important to our company is that we have created successful women.
The salon creates an environment where people are able to follow their dreams regardless of gender.
The women that work for us, they are independent, they are mothers, they are single moms, they have their own houses, we've created a place for them to build a career for themselves. It's not just a job.
She goes on to say that equality is important in their business and they continue to celebrate it every day. March 8th is also Emergency Responders Appreciation Day. Those wearing the uniforms for the fire department, EMT and RCMP were treated to a free meal at McDonald's and words of thanks from throughout the community. Members from all 3 services were grateful for the support of their community for more than just this day.
When we have the support of the community and the backing of the community, it really makes our job a lot easier.
We often see people in their worst days, so it is nice for them to see us out in the community, that we are still regular people and we are here to help and we can answer questions that they have.
Constable Grant Kersinger says that partnerships between responders and community groups has helped to strengthen relationships between them and residents.
and whether that be the amount of people that are showing up to our Battle of the Badges hockey game, to our food drives that we host, and we work together on a lot of those things.
Constable Kersinger added that the communication between EMT, RCMP and the fire department has made their working relationship strong as well. It's a practice that goes against contemporary methods, but seeding multiple plant species in one field is gaining interest in the agriculture industry. Brian Lentz has more on the practice of cocktail cropping.
To solve these issues naturally with a biotic solution, which is going to be sustainable.
Kevin Elmy doesn't consider himself to be an organic farmer, but for 8 years he's been using cocktail cover crops to manage soil health.
The whole idea with it is, it isn't just growing one species. We want to include more diversity into our rotation, so the quickest way to have that diversity is to have, 2, 3, 4, or even, 9 or 20 different species growing all at the same time.
Elmy adds planting cover crops has many benefits, such as reducing erosion while increasing phosphate availability, nitrogen fixation, and soil aggregation.
By doing that creates a cocktail, so that this way, you're feeding your microbes, you're feeding your animals, you're feeding, the biology to create that diversity, to create that soil health.
Elmy says grain farmers may not see the benefits of adding cover crops into their rotation until the following year, but other producers may notice a more immediate effect.
For the cattle people, it's easier because they need to produce feed, so it's another feed source. So you can really target on, what your issues are, and we can develop a cover crop that'll help fit those issues that you have.
Local farmers say they will try cocktail cropping as a way to reduce input costs while improving their soil.
If I can just improve it a little more and not use quite as much fertilizer, things like that would be very beneficial.
For more information on species and resources available, go to covercrops.ca. Brian Lentz, Newcap News.
Well, when you think spring break, your first thought is probably not a trip to Sri Lanka, but that's where some students from Lakeland College Vermilion campus spent their break. Angie Mellon has more on the travels and what they learned.
Motivates you to be an advocate for the environment?
13 students from the Bachelor of Applied Science Environmental Management program traveled to Sri Lanka with the goal of learning about how certain projects can affect the environment.
Especially the dams, and then the irrigation areas, human settlements, then the wildlife national parks, which were created for this project. And so the students will come to realize the wholeness of this project, the adverse impacts of any development project, whether it be in Sri Lanka or Canada.
Students learned a lot about the differences in environmental laws and management between here and Sri Lanka.
Canada is so proactive with their environmental laws and what they do for the environment. All our legislations and our regulations and stuff make sure that our country is clean and very kept beautiful, whereas they don't have that as much.
It was eye-opening to see how much more stringent our environmental laws are here in Canada and how much more educated the people are.
When you go over there, they don't have all these strict regulations. There's garbage in the streets. There's so much pollution in the air. It just makes you realize just how important the environment is to you.
The trip was paid for through fundraising and a Campus Alberta grant for international learning. As for their favorite parts,
seeing the elephants was really, really awesome.
The safari in the national park to see the wild elephants.
Definitely going to see the elephants.
The chair hopes more trips like this will be planned to other countries for future students. Angie Mellon, Newcap News.
It's a program created by the Saskatchewan Fish and Wildlife Federation that flows into the grade 9 curriculum called Fish in Schools, where classrooms learn about the process of hatching trout. In this week's Beyond the Classroom, we see how one science class at ES Laird is participating and the goal of this project.
Sean Donald's class is learning about the life cycle of an organism. In this case, it's trout.
In January, we got eggs delivered here to the school, about 100 eggs.
It's been just this last week that they started to see the fish hatch and swim around, but the students have been an active part of this delicate process since the beginning.
Every day we've taken a quick little peek into the aquarium, making sure that we have the fish surviving, counting the eggs, counting the fish, and now that they're hatched, the students are going to be starting to feed the fish.
And now the class is working on a research project about trout to present to the school board and the Lloydminster Fish and Games Association. The reason being, come June, the class will be working with the organization to release the fish into one of the trout ponds they own.
It does need to be a public access fishery spot, and that's part of the requirements from the Wildlife Federation of Saskatchewan.
As for Donald's class, it's been a welcome learning experience, one they've grown kind of attached to.
I always thought that there's just really one kind of trout, but now after doing all this research, figured out there's a bunch of different sizes and a bunch of different kind.
Because they've been involved in it, they kind of some of them have started to feel like they're their little trouts.
This is Newcap Sports.
Well, high school basketball season is drawing to a close, but before that happens, zone tournaments are taking place all over Alberta, and this weekend the 3A version for senior boys and girls take place at Holy Rosary. Lance Phillips was at the senior girls' final tune-up before beginning their quest to a provincial championship.
In their final game before zone playdowns, Holy Rosary's senior girls laid a beatdown on Lashburn, 53-26. However, the score wasn't important. It was an opportunity to polish parts of their game exposed during an earlier loss to powerhouse Bev Facey in the Hugh Morrell Border Classic. And the jury's still out on whether their game is where it needs to be.
It still remains to be seen a little bit. You know, we had that tournament in Cold Lake 2 weeks after that, and we didn't play very well. You know, right from the start of the tournament to the finish, we ended up getting silver, but I think just from our own execution perspective, from our own accomplishment, we knew it wasn't what we wanted.
The focus for the Raiders has been improvement over winning, and there has been evidence of improvement both on and off the court.
We're definitely more a team. Like, even the beginning of last year, we were only 8 people. We're a small team, and we added 3 more people to that team, so it's harder to mesh the chemistry when you have new people coming, even though you're already a good team of 8.
All around, you know, there's obviously always things that we want to get better at day in and day out, but I think there's been marked improvement everywhere. Our defense has always been good. The girls have been, you know, the intensity and the hustle's been there, and if you're athletic, you can play defense, as long as you're willing to learn to play a system.
Even though the team isn't ranked provincially, both players and coaches know what needs to be done to get back to the Alberta final.
Well, like, we just got to remember to watch our transition defense, make sure we stop the ball right away, and pick everyone else up and not leave the back people hanging by the net so that they can get an easy bucket, and just keep our defense up. Don't slack, basically.
I want to see assertiveness, you know, especially when we have the ball. And part of our debrief coming out of Cold Lake was we didn't take advantage of opportunities we had. You know, we would defer to someone else instead of going after the opportunities that were presented to us. So we can do that, and we can continue to play good defense. I think we'll be fine.
Lance Phillips, Newcap Sports, Lloydminster.